The Senate, in something of a reversal, has voted to advance a $95 billion foreign aid package that would provide military and economic assistance to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane joins me now. Scott, this is a multi-episodic saga. We are on probably episode 12 or 14. I've lost count. Catch our audience up on the current state of play and whether or not, with the package as it's currently defined, there is some remote chance of putting a debate about immigration policy back into it.
Oh, Major, I'm loath to use sports analogies, but this really begs for a baseball one. No runs have been scored, and we are back at the top of the lineup and try this again.
Okay.
Here's the latest state of play. The Senate's going to try to move forward. A test vote did so today with this plan to spend tens of billions of dollars to help Ukraine and help Israel without the border restrictions and the border legislation that was discussed over the past couple of months. That's where we were months ago, when congressional leaders were trying to push through an emergency plan requested by the Biden administration to help Ukraine and help Israel without getting into the nettlesome issue of border security with the unrelated issue of border security. 2 months of pretty fraught negotiations, and 72 hours after the bill is posted, it's dead, and they're moving to this other plan. It's going to take some time. The Senate's going to need the senatorial procedures to work their way through. They'll be here through the weekend. They'll have a rockin' Super Bowl party on the Senate floor. And then as early as next week, they can try to advance this thing, help pay for Ukraine, help pay for Israel. But because the baseball analogy still fits, Major, at the top of the lineup, they have that same problem. The U.S. House wants nothing to do with this, and its future is uncertain.
So is it possible, Scott, that as the Senate considers this larger foreign aid allocation of funds, it could revisit the immigration component and say the things that were negotiated are insufficient and we want to either amend that or rewrite some components of that? Or do you think, based on what you're hearing now, that immigration is still going to be kept to the side, nettlesome as always, and not ultimately part of whatever the Senate decides to pass?
I think it's quite clear there's going to be some debate, some discussion of immigration issues. Some of the amendments, if not many of the amendments, are going to touch on some of the issues the border security proposal touched on. But it doesn't really change the calculus here. If the proposal that was put forward Sunday night by one of the most conservative members of the Senate, James Lankford, with the support of the Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, did not carry the day with the Republican Party or anybody in the U.S. House, little versions of it added to this bill to fund Ukraine and Israel certainly won't either. And the kernel here remains the same. There are dozens, if not a majority, of Republicans in the U.S. House who simply do not support funding Ukraine in any context in any way. Nothing has changed. And some of the support for Ukrainian aid may have loosened or weakened a bit here in the Senate. We are back at the start of the lineup, and nobody's scoring any runs.
Very good. Scott, with about 90 seconds to go, any reaction on Capitol Hill to Special Counsel Robert Hur's report, including its reference not only to President Biden's age and memory issues, but also the decision not to pursue any criminal charges?
Yeah, a better question might be, has anybody not responded on Capitol Hill in the couple of hours since the report was issued? All of it predictably down party lines. Top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee says it is absurd to compare what Special Counsel Hur's report said about President Biden and what Special Counsel Jack Smith is prosecuting with Donald Trump. The Democrats reinforcing the fact that there was no obstruction. President Biden answered every question, opened all the doors, let the investigators in. Donald Trump's charged with felony obstruction and conspiracy. Republicans really leaning into the references in this 345-page report, which raise questions about President Biden's memory, his faculties. They've made that a big part of their response, not so much a legal response as a political one, that if he's not fit to be prosecuted because of possible memory failures, he's not fit to hold high office. Oh, I expect that to be a critical part of their campaign messaging moving forward.
Scott MacFarlane coming to us on Capitol Hill with the update not only on legislative activities, but reaction to Special Counsel Hur's report. Thank you so very much.